Hey everyone, this is Mike from the Comic Book Trove, back today with another book review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the recently released Batman The Haunted Knight Deluxe Edition from DC Comics. Now, with the release of this book, this does complete the full set of this line of deluxe editions collecting the full Long Halloween saga. It's a real kind of epic run of stories, one of my favourite kind of sets of Batman stories that are out there. I really do adore these books, especially, the main Long Halloween story itself. But this one's quite interesting that they put the Long Halloween branding there on the front, because really, of all these other books in this set, Haunted Knight is the one that is by far the least connected to the main story. It's really just a set of independent, separate stories, which at best I would say serve as a kind of thematic prelude or prologue to the Long Halloween itself. But story-wise, they're not directly connected, but I'll talk about that more and talk about the individual stories collected here more as I flick through the book in a moment. Because what I'm going to do is just showcase it, give you guys a better idea of what it looks like, and maybe help you out if it's something you're trying to figure out as to whether or not you want to pick it up or not. So, without any further ado, let's dive into the Haunted Knight Deluxe Edition from DC. Stick around and we'll check it out. Okay then, so here we are with the Haunted Knight Deluxe Edition, or to use its full given name here, we've got the Batman The Long Halloween, the prequel Haunted Knight, the Deluxe Edition. You've got to love those overly wordy titles that DC have given these books by forcing them all under the Long Halloween umbrella. But the first thing that I want to talk about here is this striking piece of artwork on the front cover. What I really like about all these deluxe editions is that each one did get an original piece of artwork for their cover from Tim Sale. Now, Tim Sale did, of course, pass away earlier this year in what was very sad news to hear about. He's one of my favourite Batman artists. I'm sure he is for a lot of people. So that one hit quite hard to hear about that. But what I understand is that this piece of artwork here for the cover of this book was actually the last piece of professional artwork that Tim Sale ever did to feature Batman. So that's quite bittersweet because I love this image. I think it's great. Really nice cover for the book, but kind of sad to know that this is the last time he ever drew this character with which he was so strongly associated with. But let's take a look at the rest of the book then and just showcase that a bit. So we've got the spine here, and then the back of the book on here as well, and this image as well, another great piece of Tim Sale artwork, of course. This was used on an earlier printing of this book. I believe it was a trade paperback cover for one of the printings of the book over the years, and you get a little bit of blurb and information about what's collected in here. I'll just quickly showcase what the book looks with the others. So if you were to put these together on the shelf, if you had all four, give you just an idea of what the four of them will look like together. So they're going to look like that. They look really nice lined up. Of course, the Long Halloween book is slightly different because they didn't quite use the same logo style as they were supposed to, the one that they used for these other three. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe in the future DC reprint that Long Halloween Deluxe Edition and give it the correct kind of font style and logo style, etc., so that it does match the other ones. You never know. They might do, they might not, but it's not a huge deal breaker anyway, in my opinion. Looking inside the book, you get these nice kind of green bookend pages. And what this book is then, for anyone who isn't too aware, and I'll just give a spoiler warning here as well before we dive in any further, but it's a collection of three unrelated, separate individual stories. So it's split into three books or three parts. First story is called Fears, second is called Madness, the third is called Ghosts. And these are all quite fun. They're all stories that are set early in Batman's career, and they're all set on Halloween nights. So what you get in here is, I suppose you could describe it as the kind of the prototype stories really from Loeb and Sale, which allowed them to develop the kind of storytelling style, the visual art style in the case of Tim Sale, which they would later bring to the Long Halloween and Dark Victory with so much kind of success. Because these stories, they're not as good as that. They're not on the same scale as the Long Halloween story itself, but I do find these to be enjoyable. They're quite quick, easy reads, nothing too complicated going on here. This first story, Fears, features the Scarecrow as the villain. What I do like about each of them as well is that they all do spend some time, not a huge amount of time because they're fairly short stories, but they do spend some time focusing on Bruce Wayne's kind of his mindset, diving a little bit into the psychology of Bruce Wayne and why he's Batman, and in some cases in the stories here also taking opportunities for a bit of character growth for Bruce Wayne to realize that there are some things that he still needs to, experience and live for himself, as well as dedicating so much of his life to being Batman. There is also good to be achieved from Bruce Wayne as well. So some quite interesting themes and concepts are explored, and for the most part, I would just say that these stories are all entertaining. You know, if you have read The Long Halloween and you enjoyed that at all, then I'm sure you would enjoy these as well. Very similar style, you know, it's the same creative duo. What can I say? It's all similar stuff. It's not as good, but it's a book which you know, I had a good time the first time I read it years ago, and so once these new deluxe editions were coming out, yeah, I kind of had to get the full set of these as well. And like I say, I'm really pleased with the design of all these books. I think it's my favourite format in which these have each been published, and that's saying something because I think they've been published in basically every format there is. You know, trade paperbacks, of course, an omnibus, absolute editions, and now these oversized hardcovers. But these personally are my favourite way in which they are collected at the moment. But let me know which of the ways this book is collected, along with the other ones, that you prefer the most. But this second story, this is a Mad Hatter story. Always liked this page here, this double page spread of Mad Hatter putting on one of his infamous tea parties. And yeah, so that's a story in which Barbara Gordon, daughter of Jim Gordon, is kidnapped by the Hatter. And it's then a kind of race against time for Batman and Gordon and the police to track the Hatter down. Pretty good stuff. And then we move into the third story, which is called Ghosts. And this is a story which basically takes a huge amount of inspiration from and pretty much just adapts A Christmas Carol into a sort of a Batman version of A Christmas Carol. So Bruce Wayne is visited by 3 spirits who take the form of people familiar in his life. So his father is one of them, Poison Ivy is one of them, the Joker. And yeah, he just kind of, this is the story that I kind of like the most, I think. So it spends a bit of time showcasing parts of Batman's past, showing the things that he's maybe neglecting in his life because of his role as Batman in the present, and then showing a bit of a future as well. It's very much, it's the Christmas Carol story, you know, it's the Scrooge story. So it's, yeah, it's quite fun, quite interesting. Like I say, not a huge amount to talk about really, because they are short individual stories. They don't connect to The Long Halloween, so labelling it the prequel on the front of the book, I think, is a bit misleading. There is a short extra section in the back here, basically just previous covers of the book. So that's, I think, the original trade paperback cover, the Absolute Edition cover, another trade paperback cover that's on the back of this book, and then I think that's the most recent trade paperback cover as well. There's, of course, that original piece of artwork for this book from Tim Sale. Honestly, really do like that. Great piece of artwork. And then some creator biographies in the back, of course. But that's pretty much that, you know, quite a short book. Not a huge amount to say because, like I say, they're just short stories, very easy reads. Probably not going to make it onto your list of favourite Batman comics, but like I say, they do work quite well amongst this set of other books. So I have to say that all in all, I'm quite pleased that all 4 of these are now available because I just think they look really nice. And like I say, I think this is a great way to have all 4 of these books now collected as an option to buy them in. It's a really kind of deluxe format. It's literally called that. But overall, like I say, very pleased. But do let me know what you think of these stories, what you think of Haunted Night specifically, of course. I'd be happy to hear the thoughts of others. But for now, as always, thanks for sticking with me through this video. Appreciate that as always. I'll be back again soon to discuss something else.